is Tabletop Weekly, and we are the partners of Solarian Games.
And I am Jason.
And I'm Peter. And this week's stories, D&D's lead designer explains how 5e fell apart.
Oops.
No, you can't use the term D&D under Creative Commons. Stonemaier Games is suing the president. Solarian Games went to Rising Phoenix Convention. And we've got some more news about the Patreon. So
new stuff going up. So
yeah,
at the end of the show, we will show you some things. Ooh, there they are. They're going up. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's start with our first story. Now, it's one of those things where I got to say, this isn't us saying it. We're not bashing anything. This was an interview that Mike Mearls gave. And
you didn't do the collapse. You didn't make a collapse.
Right. And I'm not jumping on anything, and I'm not saying he's right. I'm saying this is what Mike Mearls said with his own voice on a podcast.
Yes.
So this was he went on Questing Beast.
Good show.
And if you should happen to not know who Mike Mearls is, he was one of the lead designers behind Dungeons and Dragons D&D 4th and 5th edition. So he did a lot of talking. I got to tell you, he's a talker. I don't think the host got 2 words in.
Why should they? Why should they? He's the guest.
It's fine. No, it's fine. So he said that fifth edition was designed to reclaim players lost to Pathfinder. So when 4E happened, a lot of people jumped over to Pathfinder because they had missed 3. They went 3.5. And they did. The revenue kind of went really.
I mean,
really
and that's what's the opposite of a refutation? An agreement, a validation. There you go. Okay. It is a validation of what everybody was saying at the time. Anyway, was that fourth edition basically had the chance to destroy D&D. I mean, it was not that it was a bad game. It was just that it was losing players so much, and that Pathfinder, that was Paizo's big moment.
Yep.
And everybody pretty much was saying when they do 5th edition, they're trying to fix the mistakes and get back the Pathfinder players.
Yeah.
Wizards never said it at the time. I think they might have even denied it a couple of times, but it's nice to hear Mike validate that, what we all knew behind the scenes.
Yeah. I mean, I tried it. I didn't like it. So
no.
But he said, early 5e prioritized streamline the mechanics, whereas the newer updates lean towards the technical depth, which he says, might alienate casual players. So kind of what he went on about in this interview was he was saying that, there's a feel of a game, and then there's the mechanics of the game, the operation of the game. And it's his opinion that this newer version is really more about what's going on in the mechanics than just the feel of it. Like it's instead, he made a comment about the orcs, and I'm not going to jump on that controversy or whatever, but his opinion is that, orcs kind of should be orcs and not like, they're trying to turn everything into, like everybody gets along or whatever. I don't exactly remember exactly what he was saying, but he was saying
I heard
orcs should be orcs.
I heard what he said, and I cannot quote it, but he was more or less saying a lot of the things that some of the community is saying, which is that it just kind of went too far in one particular direction.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's a good way to say that. Better than I said it. So he also said that Hasbro's growing involvement has increased distance between the decision makers of D&D and the audience, and it's kind of weakening the trust and leading to missteps along the way. And and that's kind of how it goes. Like a corporation cares about profit, and we've talked about this before. It's quarter to quarter to quarter to quarter, not the long-term strategy. Like a business, a corporation is trying to make money, not trying. While they might try to make a good product, I'm not saying they're not trying to make a good product. It's just that kind of gets in the way sometimes.
It's not even that they're trying to make money, because every business needs to make money. You need, right, just like people need to eat. It's that if you're a publicly traded company, you are responsible or actually answerable to your shareholders.
Right.
And you have this concept of maximizing shareholder value, which is
right,
different from maximizing profits. It means that every quarter, anybody who's holding stock is like, well, what do I get? What do I get? What do I get this quarter?
Right.
And so
Right.
it rewards short-term thinking, and it doesn't reward long-term planning. And it's not any individual person or company's fault. It's just what happens when you have shareholders.
Yeah, that's how it works. That's how it works. And one of the things that I really dislike about the system that we have with shareholder profit maximization, sometimes it's good, but a lot of times it's bad and it's like short-sighted. And I don't know. I wish there was a way to fix that.
Well, ironically, the problem with it is that it treats it like a game. It is, and there is a great article that I wasn't prepared to quote or cite or anything, but if you Google maximizing shareholder value, the worst idea in the world, it was something written in, I think, Fortune magazine a few years back that just basically looked at how it all started sometime around the early 70s when a few people with bright ideas came up with some new ways to make money. And it all focused on that concept. And it just really changed the way corporations have to act and what they have to do quarter to quarter. So Hasbro is publicly traded. Wizards is kind of the biggest piece of Hasbro at this point. And so they are reacting the way that would happen. And that's why we see this big collapse graphic on the screen.
Yeah. So one of the things that he did say that I really liked, I mean, this I took to heart because I feel like it really applies to us. He started talking about the indie game designer and stuff, and he was saying that the rise of direct to consumer sales, like Kickstarter and independent publishing and all that kind of stuff, is really kind of where the industry seems to be going, and like these big companies and stuff are becoming less important because just like we've said, building community. People are really starting to like having their community that they can be a part of. And honestly, it creates a more personal thing. And each one of these individual companies will likely have lesser of an audience, but a more dedicated audience. And I think that's good.
I don't know if I agree with it, because that sounds like somebody who is seeing a trend that's already happened and predicting it.
Okay, fair enough.
It's just that, we're seeing all of that, and crowdfunding is big right now. Is crowdfunding going to maintain the levels that it has now for the next 5 years? Are people going to? I can't predict that. And there's two sides to what I'm thinking right now. On the one hand, we're seeing everything fragment. That's true, and it's not just about D&D or anything else. Movies, music, all entertainment is fragmenting as there's less need for the big gatekeepers. You don't have, in music, you don't have a Michael Jackson level event anymore. Yes, you have Taylor Swift, but that is more of an anomaly than the rule. Taylor Swift is notable because she stands out in a world that's so fragmented. She's one of the few artists that everybody knows. And the same goes, try and find anybody in your friend group where everybody knows the same TV shows or the same movies. We just don't have the same references anymore.
Right.
So the world is fragmenting.
What I was saying though is that not I didn't want to focus on the Kickstarter part of it. So if that I'm hoping you're not taking that.
I do want to focus on the other part of it though. The part about do we need the big company? And I think we do. And I think they're still going to be important, because everything that you and I and the people who are listening to the show right now talk about is we're very enmeshed in this world. We get it. We're inside baseball. But in the 1980s, the distribution model was different, obviously, but you had to have your Walden books to discover D&D. Most people were not discovering it at a small game store in a corner. And you still today have to have big mainstream ways for people to find things. So I think there is going to be a role. I just don't agree with him that we're going to see this shift where Wizards isn't going to be important anymore.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I didn't take it that way. I took it as like he was saying less dominant. So I think.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I mean, if I lose a pound, I'll be less fat.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. I just like the fact that there seems to be there's a lot of really good models out there now for direct to consumer. Yeah. Because I like that. I like that we do a lot of that. That's and I enjoy it. I enjoy having that direct to consumer. I like being able, like we're doing right now, talking to our people, our our friends.
Basically.
So, anyway, so last thing, if he were in charge, he would prioritize transparency, repair trust with the audience, and focus on improving dungeon mastering tools to make running games easier. And it's funny that he would say that because I don't know that he could do that. He was already there and now he's here. So like we were saying about the corporations, the shareholders and stuff, I don't know that he could do those things. I mean,
I think what he's saying is that he would do that if he could.
Right.
But the truth is that everybody's got a boss.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if you're the CEO of Hasbro, you've got a boss. They're on the board. If you're the board, you've got a boss. It's the shareholders, and then the shareholders have a boss, and probably that boss buys D&D.
Right. It's like you and I. Our bosses are consumers. Our friends.
Well, mine is my cats.
Right. Yeah. I got a big fat white dog back there.
Oh, there she is.
All right. Sorry. So, okay, let's go on to the next story.
All right. So the next story, a little more inside baseball. This one is no. You cannot. Oh, is this the no you cannot?
Yeah, this is the no you cannot. I made a little graphic here.
I saw the graphic. Okay, that's good. You cannot use D&D on the name of your game. So there was a bit of excitement this week when somebody in the N-World forums dove into the new SRD, the new system reference document. Is that what it stands for?
I think so.
Standards reference. The thing that tells
someone in our chat room will tell us.
The thing that tells you what you can and cannot use if you're making something D&D-ish, right? And there's all these different rules about whether you're in the DM's Guild or not. But if you're making it on your own as a third-party publisher, there are rules that they've published that say there's certain things you're allowed to do. And they've published them in the new SRD under what's called Creative Commons. So there's a bunch of things around what copyright is that I'm not going to try to spend all my time going on. But normally, if you have a copyright for something, that means that you control everything in your creative work. So if I write a book, everything in that book is my copyright. There's some ways for me to allow other people to use it. So if I was the, I don't know, the creator of Donald Duck, right? I have the copyright for Donald Duck. I don't know if it's expired or not. Who cares? But if I wanted just anybody in the world to be able to use it and I would have no control over it at all, then I would just release it into what's called the public domain. I would just renounce my copyright and say it's free to everybody. But there's another way of doing it, which is to release into something called Creative Commons. And Creative Commons is basically a sort of a public contract that I think Lawrence Lessig came up with it back in the day. I don't know. Everybody agrees that if you put something in there and you declare it Creative Commons, you tell people what they're allowed to do with it. And there's different versions. Like you say, with this version, you can do anything you want as long as you credit me. With this version, you can remix, but you can't resell. They put all these different things on it. And then there's what Wizards has been doing, which is to do their own license, where they say, we're putting it out for the public under certain restrictions. And they have complete control over what that means. And they can, with their own license, they can pull that back. They can say, we told you that you could do this, but now we're changing the license. You can't do it anymore. Public domain, you can never pull back. Licenses, you can. Creative Commons is more like public domain in the sense that, yes, it's a license because you've written in what you can do, but you can't take it back. Once you put it in the Creative Commons, it's there forever.
Right.
So what they did differently with the new SRD was they put it, at least some of it, into the Creative Commons. And they said, we're going to do this a little differently. We just want to earn the trust of the community and say, this is out there. It's yours now. And when they did it, they wrote certain things in there that said, here's the Creative Commons bit. And they talked about everything in there. And at one point they said the word or the phrase or the letters, whatever. They said D&D in the middle of the sentence. And so this person on N-World, nearly said 4chan.
Right. Oh, God.
This person on N-World, I don't know who they are. I don't know what their legal credentials are or anything like that. But they made the case that if you say D&D in the Creative Commons part, that means it's Creative Commons now, so everybody can say D&D. A lot of people got excited about that. I know Tenkar's Tavern introduced the concept to everybody. Not saying that he took a stance on it necessarily. He was, Eric, he just tells the news. He doesn't take a stance. But I just want to be really clear that no, that's not the case. It's because there's another part in the SRD that also says these are Wizards trademarks. You cannot use these. If you use them, we'll come and get you. And they said you can't say Wizards, you can't say Dungeons and Dragons, you can't say Hasbro, you can't say D&D. So basically, from a legal perspective, even if they accidentally did put the phrase inside of a certain block, the fact that they explicitly say elsewhere in there that no, you can't do it, if you ever went before a judge and tried to argue that your magic words are going to beat their explicit statement, you're going to lose. So don't do it. You'll get in trouble.
So we have a couple people, Brian and Chet both said system reference document.
Thank you.
Scott Congable asked if we have a Creative Commons.
Ooh, even better than a Creative Commons, actually. Oh, thank you, Brian, who likes the Debbie Harry shirt.
Yeah.
What we do is we have, with the help of our lawyer, created our own. It's not Creative Commons because we just wanted to write something more explicit. So we've created our own licensing document. It's called the Everlasting License for Free, ELF. ELF, and it applies only to our Lucky 13 system, which is the system that underpins Top Secret. So none of Top Secret is in the Creative Commons or licensed or anything. You cannot use that, but you can take the rule set that James Carpio created that underpins all of it, and you can use that set of rules to make anything you want. We don't have any control over it. We don't have any morality clauses or clawbacks or anything like that. We just say, as long as you don't claim that you invented Lucky 13, you can use it.
Right.
Basically.
And it's irrevocable. What's the two words?
Yes. So here's the two magic words: irrevocable and perpetual. Because when Wizards did the SRD last time, or the time before, or some earlier time for 5th edition, they said it was irrevocable but not perpetual, or maybe it was the other way around. I forget.
Perpetual but not irrevocable. Right. Okay. One or the other.
The point is, without both of them, it's not really yours.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, so that's really it. The truth is, I think if you had deep pockets and you're willing to go to court over the issue, I believe I am not a lawyer, I am not your lawyer, I'm not anybody's lawyer, and nothing I say is legal advice. But this is just my personal opinion, is that if you were to write a module that was compatible with 5th edition D&D, and you wrote on the front, my cool adventure compatible with Dungeons and Dragons, and if you don't try to make it look like you said it was, don't make the letters big, just make it small, something you can read, and then put very clear text in there that says, we do not own this trademark. This is not a challenge to the trademark. This is just a statement of fact saying that you can play this with that. I think if your lawyer was expensive enough, you would win.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is, so Wizards is kind of creating their own law here. I mean, not law, but they're creating their own legal statements that are not tested in court. What they're basically counting on is the fact that their lawyers are bigger than everybody else's lawyers.
They are.
You can't afford to go head to head with them, and it wouldn't be worth it. I mean, most people are just going to say, "Fine, I don't want the trouble. I don't want to get into it. I'm just going to do what they say." But I think if you really tested it in court, you might win. But unless you've got incredibly deep pockets, like you're a billionaire or something, it's a terrible idea to try.
Right. And it would be one hell of a gamble to make.
Yeah. And what would you get out of it?
Yeah.
What's the point?
You get to earn a couple $100 on a book.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I were Wizards, I would just say, go right ahead and say compatible with Dungeons and Dragons, because it just means that more people think of Dungeons and Dragons as the most important thing. And as long as you have rules, because the other thing is, here's why they have to defend it. Because if you don't defend it, if you don't make people say D&D is a trademark of Wizards, blah, blah, blah. If you just let people write the words D&D on something, what would happen is that after enough years of that happening, a court could rule and say, it is in such common usage that it is a generic term. Now nobody can own it.
That's true. Same thing. The reason why Disney is real has always been so crazy about protecting, anything of theirs because they don't want
Yeah.
it slipping out into the public.
Because there's examples of things this happening to people. So the two most famous ones are Xerox and Kleenex. Because I don't know if this is 100% true, and somebody who knows more about law than me could tell me if that's true. But I believe that the words, you can say, I'm going to Xerox something, and they can't do anything about it because it's become such a common phrase.
Yeah.
And I'm going to blow my nose with a Kleenex because
Yep.
that's just what people say. And that's why when you see somebody say, I'm going to throw it in the dumpster, or look, we're in the middle of look at the dumpster fire. They're like, no, put the TM on it because dumpster is a trademarked word.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, dumpster. Well, exactly. So maybe it's become generic too. And you could easily.
Or you're going to Velcro something, right?
That's another good one. So, I mean, you could easily see somebody making the case that says Dungeons and Dragons is just a generic term for role-playing game. So anybody can say it. And that would really be bad for Hasbro. So they have to defend it.
Scott has another question. He said, a mission for Top Secret New World Order on the cover is separate from the elf for Lucky 13?
Yes. We basically say, I'd have to go back and look for sure, but basically what we say is, we don't care if you say that this is compatible with Top Secret. You can say it. As long as you include some language in there that says Top Secret is a trademark of Solarian. So that's how we protect it. Because when we trademarked Top Secret, we actually had to go back a couple of times. The first time we tried to trademark it, the trademark office said it was generic and that we couldn't do it. And so we went back and we made another argument with our lawyers, and they said, okay, in your case, it's not generic when it's applied just to what you do.
Right.
So we have to be careful with that. So we
like a role-playing game. A role-playing game named Top Secret is our trademark, but Top Secret for a document, not trademark.
Right. But so that's why we just have to have people say Top Secret is a Solarian trademark, whatever. And as far as us giving people the little graphic or whatever, we just make it so that it shows. What that shows is that you actually talked to us and we liked it and we said, here, you can use the graphic.
Right.
We can't stop somebody. Even this is actually kind of funny. I logged into the Top Secret Facebook page yesterday, and the first thing it popped up was a video, like a reel, those Facebook reels. I didn't check the date on it. It turned out it was from like 5 years ago, but it was Dave Johnson.
Oh,
and he was like, I just want to, I can't do a good impression because I'm just not gross enough. But he was like, oh, I'm looking for playtesters for this game and for Top Secret. And I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, did he just put this up? Do we have to reban this guy? What do we do? Because, he's the one that was out there. Like, he got caught like posting literal Nazi stuff, not like, Godwin's law of people I don't like are Nazis, like swastikas and Hitler was right crap. And so I'm like, no, he's banned. But legally, I can't stop him from making something and say, you can play this with Top Secret. I mean, I guess whatever. But I'm not gonna. But I'm never gonna give him a graphic and say, here, go ahead and put it on there. And so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Like Kanye. Yeah. Except Kanye has at least the slight excuse of he's probably mentally insane.
Maybe Dave Johnson is too.
I don't know. For legal reasons, these are my opinions only, and I'm not claiming anything about it.
I'm not making a single claim.
These are my opinion only.
The best I'm doing here is
some people say. Many people are saying.
Right.
So anyway, the point is, don't write the words D&D in your game because it's not okay.
All right. Next. Stonemaier and Stonemaier Games. Let's do this. There we go. I know it's a boring graphic. I couldn't find a good one. Anyway, so
they're the
they did Scythe,
Wingspan, and Scythe, and all those big things. The point is very big, big game company.
And he, just like kills it with like Kickstarter. Like this is one of the guys that really knows what he's doing on Kickstarter. He even wrote a book on it. I read. So yeah. Anyway, so he is suing the president, and it's not just him. Stonemaier Games, that's the title of it, but it's Stonemaier Games and other tabletop publishers are joining a lawsuit to challenge the president's authority to impose tariffs unilaterally. The company argues that 145% tariff on imports from China severely impacts small business, costing them millions in unexpected fees. They stressed that their products were already in production before the new administration took office, making the policy especially damaging. The lawsuit aims to defend the rights of the affected business owners and consumers.
So, from what I've seen, it's actually, I think they're up to maybe like 3,000 companies now. So it's not all game companies.
Okay.
There's a lot of small businesses. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce declined to join the lawsuit. They considered it, but
oh, wow. Okay.
Well, keep in mind the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is not a government agency.
Right. I got you. No, I know. It's like the Federal Reserve, right? Everybody thinks it's federal, but it's not.
Right. I mean, anybody can start a Chamber of Commerce. Every town has one, and it's basically business people get together and say, we're a chamber and we protect business. We speak up for business needs or business interests. So there's a national one too. And it's a consortium of businesses, and they decided they didn't want to get on this right now because some of them still need favors.
Oh, right. Okay. Fair enough.
That's the truth. Some of them need favors. They're not going to do this. But the lawsuit, as I understand it, is challenging. It's not saying we are suing the president himself for costing us money, because I don't think you can even do that.
No.
I'm pretty sure you cannot sue government officials in their capacity as government officials.
Right. No, I don't think so. And it's a look, to be reasonable.
You shouldn't be able. You should.
It's a good thing. Yeah, it's a good thing, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to do our country wouldn't be able to do anything.
Yeah, the government would grind to a halt as every single crank with access to a piece of paper and a pen would sue everyone they could think of. And but
you can, if they use the word that's used is suit, but what it is a challenge. They're challenging.
Well, what they're doing is they're suing to establish, whether it's challenging or suing or whatever the word is. They're challenging whether or not the executive branch has the right to unilaterally impose these tariffs.
Right.
Because this is happening with a lot of what's going on right now. And I'm not even going to say the phrase, I won't get political, because the fact is this is a political thing. I'm not going to get political about any individual personality. How about that?
Okay.
But, sometimes I've heard people say the phrase, yeah, you're not interested in politics, but politics is interested in you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes to get you, and sometimes it gets you in the wallet. And so what's been getting tested over the past, it seems like 17 years, but it's been about 3 months, is can you run the United States federal government exclusively by executive order, bypassing the Congress, bypassing the courts, defying the courts, just saying, I declare, and making that a law. And no, you can't legally. And if you watch enough of the after school, what was it? The Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah.
They'll tell
Does
you.
a bill become a law?
Right.
But
in practice, if you do it and nobody says anything about it and you get away with it,
then you can do it.
Like, it's a de jure versus de whatever, by law versus by custom. So what they're doing is they're saying, well, hold on a second. We do challenge that. We do say you need to prove that you have the right to actually go out there and do this. So we'll see.
We'll see.
And the fact is that even if the tariffs were ended tomorrow, the lawsuit would continue, because it's not about please stop the tariffs. It's probably going to go to the Supreme Court, honestly. And
it sounds like a Supreme Court.
Yeah, because they're going to need to make a definitive statement. What are the powers of the three separate branches? And no matter where you land on anything on the political side of this, it's a very good thing to have those kind of things tested, because that establishes facts.
Dude, I don't care where you stand. Fence on the fence, this side, that side, whatever. The three powers, the balance of power needs to be maintained.
Yeah. The way that the United States federal government was set up was intentionally three different powers pulling at each other at all times. And also it's supposed to be slow and ineffective.
Yes, it is. It's supposed to be slow. Wheels are supposed to grind slow.
Yeah. If you could just make laws anytime you wanted to, we'd be tied up in knots. So,
well, no, that'd be dangerous, dude. Like, the wheels have got to turn slow. It gives time for someone to grab the wheel and pull it back in the right direction if it starts getting off the track.
Yeah. And this is the last thing I'll say on this, but it's very important. Anytime you see any government official or organization or whatever exercising power in a way that you like and you think the people on the other side don't like, don't cheer too much, because tomorrow it's going to be the other way around.
That's right.
So if you're really happy about that liberal hurting the conservatives, or you're really happy about that conservative hurting the liberals, remember, it's going to be you tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. Change happens, and you don't want to be on the other side of the fence when it's not in your favor.
Yeah.
So what you want things to be in everybody's favor, because guess what? You're part of everybody.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm glad to see that these folks are all out there finding out what the truth of the matter is. And I really hope that we all get to afford to buy our games at a normal price.
I hope we get to sell our games at a normal price for you and me. I mean, anyway, so he said, just let's see, is there anything else we didn't cover already? It said many small businesses are struggling under these regulations and are encouraged to submit details reinforcing the suit. And they listed, there's a blog post. We'll post the link to his Jamie Stonemaier to his blog, so that they can, so you can read it yourself. But he talks about some like strategic responses and stuff, and like things you can do to handle this if you're a game seller.
Yeah, there's a lot of people talking about what you can do, and I think the most important advice is don't do anything based on what somebody said on the internet, and that includes us.
Yeah. Oh, no. That absolutely means us.
No, I mean, there was an art just on the same topic. There was an article somebody was passing around. I don't remember who wrote it, which is just as well, because I don't want to give him any publicity. But some guy was following the old rule of stir up controversy and you'll get success. So he wrote an article saying that the whole D&D, or not, the whole RPG, D&D is not RPG, industry, or the whole board game industry actually, was full of crap, and it was no big deal, and it was the board game industry's own fault because they didn't think to check what to classify their games under, and all they had to do was look more closely, and they'd see that the games were not even under tariff anyway.
That's not true, though.
No, it's totally not true, but he said it so loudly and so clearly that everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people started posting it to boards over and over, to the point that some message boards and Facebook groups and subreddits were beginning to ban even mentioning the article, because it was so plainly full of crap.
Right.
And the truth was, if you read all the way to the end of the article, then he'd say, by the way, I've written a whole book about how to make games, and so you should buy my book.
Right. Nice commercial.
Yeah, there's a lot of FUD going on around out there.
Oh, Brian asked if we're going to sign, and I don't know. We don't.
Nobody wants us to. Nobody's asked us to, and we'd be pointless to do it.
Yeah, I mean, like, what are we going to show?
Yeah.
So anyway, if we had more at stake, probably yes. But
yeah.
All right, let's go on to the last bit of story this week. And hey, look at that, Rising Phoenix. We went to Rising Phoenix this weekend. Had a great time.
So this was the fourth or the third? Fourth, maybe.
Four.
Yeah, four. Look at that. There's a Y4 in the top.
There's a 4 up there, right? Yeah, it's
there
the fourth
we go.
one.
So this is the fourth one.
It's my second one.
Okay, it's our third, your second, it's fourth. And we're now like Sesame Street with the count. The one Rising Phoenix, a two Rising Phoenix, a three Rising Phoenix, a four Rising Phoenix. Yeah. All right. So it was great. It always is. One of the things that stands out about Rising Phoenix is that Scott Legault, who runs it, is also a great carpenter and a great builder of things. So there's all of this wonderful, I don't know what to call it, not scenery, but just
props, big props.
Well, they're so big. Basically, they transform the hotel. They really give it a sense of occasion, a sense of place. And it's filled with just really enthusiastic gamers, loud and proud and awesome and rolling. And so it's always great. And it was no exception this year.
Right. And a little bit of a spotlight was on us this year.
Yes.
Because as everyone's aware, James passed away. And there was a big benefit for him. They did a lot of work to raise money for Children's Hospital in James's name, which was great. It was awesome. They had a poster commissioned, so you can see it in our window there if you're watching the show live.
Now let's talk about it for a minute because it was
Yeah.
so great. So Chet Minton did this, and first of all, he's one of our favorite artists. Just outstanding. And do you want to describe it?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so in the center of it is a picture of James in his fez, rocking the fez like he does.
Smoking jacket.
In a smoking jacket, one of his most classic. And I believe that picture was taken when we were at Gary Con on his 50th birthday.
Yeah, it's really an
And
iconic look for James.
Right. He's got the handlebar mustache and everything. It's really awesome. And then like in the poster, around the poster, there's a lot of imagery of things that were reflective of James, things that he created, things like, I mean, he didn't create his cat, but his cat's in the picture. Right. And Spooky Bean, a picture of a book, Spooky Beans and Tales from the Fallen Empire. And then, he believed in, he had his faith was in Wiccan, and some Wiccan stuff on there, and dice, and it's just it's a really good tribute to James. And and the best was that when Mary said that it really reflected him, that Chet had really captured James.
Yeah, I really think that this is such a fitting, if you want to, it's so nice that if anybody ever says, what was James's like? Well, here, look at this. This will tell you right there.
There it is.
Right there.
Right.
Yeah. So this was auctioned off for charity. Was it all part of the same Extra Life charity?
No, it was, no, it was different. Yeah, the Extra Life charity that we did was a different thing.
Okay, so this was auctioned off for one charity, and then there was the charity game.
It might be the same charity, but it was a different piece of that, I guess. Maybe it was I don't know. I'm sorry, Jason. Maybe it was the same.
Well, it was a charity. And so then there was the game, the charity game, if you want to explain that.
Yeah. So they wanted to do like some kind of big event in a Second Life, and I have never
Extra Life.
Oh, see, God damn it. Extra Life. I don't know why I keep saying Second Life. I'm so dumb. But anyway, so Extra Life is it's not any one charity. It's a charity event, and you can donate to whoever. But it's usually, I think it pretty much always revolves around games. I know Ben Gerber does this thing where he games for 24 hours and he gets sponsors, and he works it kind of like like the March of Dimes, where every hour he makes a certain amount of money and stuff. And so we had a game that we were going to run, and so we did a 2-table event because we want to do something really special. So we did a 2-table event. Mary ran it was top secret. Mary ran one team and I ran another, except I did a little something different. I added some supernatural elements to top secret for this thing. And so Mary was running a bunch of special agents that work out of the church. So the church has their own secret service, and she was running those agents. And then I was running the icon agents. And so they were going into the same place. So there was this mansion that was hosting this party, and the icon agents there were to investigate these neo-Nazi terrorist potential types. And the Vatican was there because there was this occult neo-Nazi group, but they didn't know each other was there. So that was cool. We did have a couple little hiccups, but we worked them all out. It was all fine. Players didn't even notice. And then, so we also wanted to do something that was reflective of something that James would have loved. So he loved all that Hollow Earth and pulp era type stuff. So the whole adventure revolved around this Nazi cult bringing Hitler back from the Hollow Earth, and he comes back as a lich riding a dinosaur, which I put down on the table, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, what the hell?" Right. So that was really cool. And then so the players got to fight undead Nazi orcs and undead Tyrannosaurus that was shooting laser beams out of his eyes, and Hitler, who had been turned into a lich. And for the Second Life stuff, people could donate money, and they were doing it right at the table to make things happen in the game. So there was all this crazy, goofy stuff they kept introducing, and I'm like, okay, let's see how we work this in. The laser beams was one of them. Like the Tyrannosaurus I had didn't have laser beams, but the guy Sean, he actually paid for it. He was running the Extra Life. He paid for it because he was wearing the Dr. Evil outfit, and he had a bald wig on and everything like that. And he was like,
it was so funny because when I saw him walking around like that, I actually did not recognize him right away.
Right.
even though I was like, I bet that bald cap would be a lot more effective if I didn't see his hair sticking out from it. But it was totally effective because it just his whole costume. I was like, he seems so familiar, but
Yeah.
it worked great. He was great.
But he did that in honor of the whole Top Secret thing because he's Dr. Evil, right?
Yeah.
But he's because he's like, it has to have freaking laser beams, man. So it's just like, all right,
he did a good job with that.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. So apparently, I think if I remember correctly, it was something around 1,800 or something they raised for James.
That's amazing.
That was
because
awesome.
I mean, Rising Phoenix is not a huge convention. Scott said there were 700 people there throughout the weekend, 3-day weekend. 4-day if you count a little bit of Thursday. So I don't know how many people were there at any one time, but 700 is a small convention in the world of Total Cons and Gary Cons and everything else. So, and I'm saying that because I want to point out that raising that much money at a convention that size is really impressive.
Yeah. And we love small conventions.
We do. We were on a panel.
I prefer them.
Yeah, we were on a panel at the convention, and that was one of the things we specifically were talking about was that we get a lot more out of the small ones.
Yeah.
And of course we ran plenty of games too. You were running were you running more dungeon only or more blood and more dungeon?
I had more blood set up and more dungeon, but I had no signups for more blood. Now, I don't know if that's because it was Friday at 1:00, because I think there was a lot of people. I think several people. I think Mary even said that she didn't have like a full table, and there were a lot of tables that weren't full.
Right.
So I don't know what the attendance is like that early. So maybe that's why. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
My Friday at 1:00 was packed.
Oh, nice. Very good. Good for you. I actually, it worked out for me anyway, because when I saw that, I had emailed Scott because he set the event up, and I said, look, man, let's cancel this. No one signed up for it yet. Not that I couldn't recruit people. I'm sure I could. I was like, but it's a whole bunch of other extra stuff I have to bring, and I got to do setup, and I'd have to leave at like 4:00 in the morning to get up there in time to do it. And I was like, can we just?
Well, you probably wouldn't have made it anyway. Let's not turn into a podcast that talks about traffic. But the point is,
there was traffic. That's all.
Yeah, there was traffic. So, but we did run couple of sessions of an upcoming top secret adventure, one that I am writing, which is pretty much done now. I guess I just need to put it into the right format, called Damn Good Minivan. And so I have here some of the props from Damn Good Minivan, if I'm showing these on the screen.
Yeah, you are. That's awesome.
There we go. So there we have the minivans. And in fact, so just the basic, I think I might have mentioned it before, but the basic premise is that all of the agents are undercover in Des Moines, Iowa, posing as soccer moms. And they have been undercover for about a year because they're trying to uncover an agro-terrorist plot. And so as part of the deal, we've got some minivans that are very tricked out for them to choose from. So on the Patreon, I'm going to go ahead and just say it now.
Go ahead and go for it.
So we have created parts of this that are going to just go up there early. So here I have the minivans themselves. So we have the Interceptor, which is a Pontiac Transport. And this one you can see is all built for speed. So this is going to be available to anybody who's on the Patreon. So you've got all of the specs here, and then it's spelled out very well on the back in more detail. It's statted out for top secret with all the things it can do. And then you have the Toyota Previa, the Beast, that is built for combat, has all kinds of things like has acoustic weapons and headlight mounted guns and caltrops and a mobile lab. And then finally we have this Dodge Caravan, the Ghost, which is built for stealth and silence and can even run in EV mode, and has all kinds of things that it can do, including a roof-mounted drone and a retractable mast with a thermal camera, all kinds of cool stuff.
Right.
So we'll be putting, I think, one a week on the Patreon, something like that.
Yeah.
And eventually you'll be able to get all of these in the full adventure Damn Good Minivan. But yeah, so we ran it, and it was a huge, huge success. Everybody did great. I was particularly happy. One of the guys who came to play, this guy Joe, he had told us when he came by the booth that he specifically came to the convention because he saw Top Secret was going to be.
Yeah, I remember that.
He said he hadn't played it like since he was a kid, and so he was in your game.
He was.
He was in your game. Was he on the Vatican side or the Icon?
He
side?
was one of the Icon agents.
All right, so good. That's right, because he wanted to be a proper spy. So
right
when he came over and played in Damn Good Minivan, it was so funny because I won't give away too much about the adventure itself, but I will say that there is a twist to it that they're trying to figure out, and he had solved it halfway through the game.
Nice.
So, which is fine because it doesn't change it at all. I mean, once you know what's going on, you still have to stop it.
Right.
But it was just really impressive. It was cool to see people who were there just to play Top Secret. Tom Wilson came with his son and friends. He's the one that runs ShireCon. He came to play Top Secret. It just makes me feel good to see when people show up, they specifically want to be spies.
Yeah.
They all did great. And there were a couple of explosions and some good firefights and a damn good minivan.
Yeah. He was the one. So the guy you were talking about, he's the one that in our adventure for the Rise of Hitlich, he blew the house up intentionally. So as soon as this is hilarious, as soon as Hitler comes out on the Tyrannosaurus and there's friggin' zombies and stuff, 3 of the Icon agents were like, nope, and left. They ran back up the stairs. I was just like, what? And they're like, yeah, no, we're done. I thought that was awesome. He was one of them, but he ran right to the kitchen, pulled the stove off the wall, broke the gas line loose, put an aerosol can in a microwave, and started punching in buttons. It was really good. And that's so awesome. I'm like, all right, cool. And so then what was crazy was as Mary's priests finished, they didn't waver at all. They went headlong into this Tyrannosaurus and they did the job. And then they ran out, and I did the whole movie thing where the house explodes and everybody's blown across the street, right? Except for him, because he set that up. So I said, nope, as you're walking out of the house, because you don't look back, the explosion goes off and nothing happens to you. It's
right, because he had the proper cinematic move.
Right, yeah.
You got to walk away with the exploon and behind you,
right behind you, but nothing happens to you at all. So it was awesome.
It was a great event. We're vending as usual, of course, and all of that. So just if anybody's thinking about, should I be going to Rising Phoenix? Yeah, you should. And hopefully we'll have Scott on the show sometime soon to talk about it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So that's this week.
That's this week, yep.
That is this week. And we'll be back next week on a normal Sunday.
Yeah.
Instead of a Monday, because we won't be coming back from a convention. And if you are listening on the audio podcast, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. That helps a lot.
Yeah.
And if you're watching on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe, because the more subscribers we have, I don't know what happens. Maybe we get a candy bar. I don't know. Yeah. But it's good.
And if I hear some people make money, but we're not trying to do that.
Not us. All right.
Yeah.
So everybody, thanks, and we'll see you next week. Oh, and whoa. If you're a Patreon member, hop over to the Discord, because we're going to have our after chat over there right now.
Oh, crap, I forgot about that. Yeah, I guess I should pull Discord up, huh? So, I'll see you there.
We'll be on the Discord. Give us about 2 minutes to move from here to there.
All right.